was on test. Councilmember Orlando?
Yes,
Okay, we can hear you. We'll be starting in about 4 minutes.
thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lopez?
Yes,
Okay, we'll be starting in about 2 minutes.
okay.
Thank you.
Get affected by the weather. Lately I've been floating like a feather. I get up in the early morning rain. I wear the same old leather shoes, the ones I used to kick out with those blues. And I found the book where you scribbled your name. Turn back the tide, ignite the feeling. Rewind your mind, summer dreaming.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our study session on June 7th. And we'd like to call this meeting to order, so clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Harkey?
Here.
Vice Mayor Stewart?
Here.
Councilmember Harris?
Here.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yes,
Councilmember Rowe?
Here.
Councilmember Ellis?
Here.
Councilmember Orlando?
here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. So for our next part of our agenda is scheduled public appearances. We have a service recognition and a proclamation. I'd like to invite Vice Mayor Stewart to join me up front. I understand our service announcement will be deferred, our service award. So we just have a proclamation tonight. And I would like to invite Carrie Warfield up from Operation Shockwave. Carrie, welcome. Let me read this and hand this to you in the microphone, and we'll take a photo. Whereas these observances are united in raising awareness that the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces who proudly serve the nation and risk their lives to protect our freedom deserve the investment of every possible resource to ensure their lasting physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And whereas the service-related mental health injuries, such as post-traumatic stress, anxiety, depression, substance abuse, insomnia, and suicide among our men and women in the armed forces is significantly pronounced, given that they are more often exposed to highly traumatic events for weeks, months, and even years. And whereas despite its treatability, many cases of mental health injuries remain undiagnosed and untreated due to a lack of awareness of these conditions and the persistent stigma associated with mental health conditions. And whereas raising awareness of these conditions is necessary to remove the stigma surrounding mental health and to encourage those suffering to seek proper and timely treatment that may save their lives. And whereas our veterans should be able to access high quality suicide prevention support, rehabilitation, and treatment service and mental health therapies that lead to recovery and a healthy, supportive lifestyle. And whereas we must encourage relatives, friends, coworkers, and providers to recognize the signs of these problems and guide those in need to appropriate services and supports. Now, I therefore, Kevin Hartke, Mayor of the City of Chandler, Arizona, hereby recognize the month of June 2021 as Military Mental Health Resilience Month. Please join me in an applause. Barb, would you like to say some comments?
Yes, thank you. At Operation Shockwave, we do suicide prevention for our military veterans using complementary and integrative healing modalities. So thank you guys so much for recognizing that this is something that we really need to take notice of, especially here in Chandler, where we have, just in Chandler alone, 13,000 veterans within our city. So thank you guys so much.
And thank you for your service to our veterans. Take a picture.
Thank you so much.
Very much. Next on our agenda tonight is our consent agenda and comments that have been called in. There's been Council 1 called in by Councilmember Ellis on item number 11. Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. City Manager, would you please call?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Ellis. I'd like to have Ryan Balch from our Neighborhood Resources Department come forward and make a brief presentation on this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilwoman Ellis. So I'll just give you a brief overview of our general funds allocations. So as many of you know, this is an annual process where we award just about $1 million each year to nonprofit organizations serving Chandler residents. We do this because you have allocated those dollars to us here, so we're very grateful for that. Thank you. We utilize a web-based system for applicants we give out the application that way, and we also receive the applications back in that way. And ultimately, we award one-year contracts. Our priorities are based on a community needs assessment that we do periodically. Our last citywide community needs assessment was conducted in 2019, so it's very current. This last time we identified two areas to make priorities around, and one was populations in need, and the other was areas of need. And so they're on the screen for you there. You'll see that both the populations and need and areas of need are actually very symbiotic and closely related. We do a very comprehensive evaluation of all of the contracts. As you can imagine, and as you know, we receive probably double the request for funds that we have to give out. So it's very important that we vet these organizations and the projects that they are proposing. So our Housing and Human Services Commission leads the way, and we have 3 subcommittees within that commission that are broken out into content areas: youth, basic needs, and special populations. And those 3 groups are members of the HHSC and then also of community stakeholders who have experience or expertise in that area. And they read many proposals and evaluate them. And some of the criteria include, first, of course, that they address one of the populations or areas of need, their expertise and experience in serving that population, their past performance. We have lots of experience with many of them over the years, so we're able to look at how they've done in the past. Whether they collaborate with other community organizations in the city of Chandler to leverage what they do and have even to make sure our dollars have the greatest reach possible. And then also their community involvement. Do they participate perhaps in Forest City Chandler or in other events that the city is putting on? Are they sort of team members within the city of Chandler? And then, of course, we monitor our agencies throughout the year. And the first way we do that is through ongoing technical assistance. We're always out there. We want to make sure that our agencies know that we are partners. We're here to answer their questions, provide best practices if they need it. Whatever they need, our goal is to help them serve the best they can. We also do agency tours. This is a fantastic opportunity for anybody that wants to come along with us. We make sure each agency is toured every 3 years, so we cycle them. And we basically give the agency 1 hour to 2 hours to show off their wares. So they tell us about themselves, what they do, why it's so important, and they actually can physically, except for this last year, they can physically show us what they do. And it's just a fantastic way to see what's going on in our community. Then, of course, we also have the more technical midterm and final reports, which really gives us exactly who they've served, how much money they've spent, demographics on populations, and the outcomes that they've achieved. And then this year, we're really fortunate to have some additional opportunities as well because of the way you have approved our expenditure of American Rescue Plan Acts. We will be coming back to you with a proposal to make available funds to nonprofit organizations that perhaps have not engaged with us in the past and are not a part of our annual process. So perhaps they do something that's outside of what our priority needs say, but still a very important service, I'm sure. So we are hoping to make $5,000 to $10,000 grants per organization, and we're hoping that we will have them be located in Chandler. I hope that answered your questions, Councilwoman.
Yes, and more. Thank you so
Okay.
much for doing that. I wanted to make sure that not only we know that in the background, but also publicly that we explain what the process is and how fortunate we are in our city to have such great partners when it comes to social services and engaging in our community. And it shows also the diversity that we provide among the people that have those different nonprofits. They can come to the table. The component that I really wanted to ask you about is the process now that we are going to open the process to a bit more of the people that are coming up, because I looked at the list that you guys have. I mean, it's like 2 pages of other organizations that we work with, but certainly there are smaller organizations that are already coming up and they are doing such great work in our community. But I was so happy that they are included. So there comes inclusion right now, making sure that everybody's at the table, they have a voice, and they are able to do that. The process that you just explained, that they will be able to apply. How do they do that now? I know the other guys, they know the process. They've been with us. They know how to do all of that. How will those ones that are never been part of the process be engaged now? What are you going to do to get them engaged?
Yeah, through the mayor, Councilwoman, that's a great question. So normally through Zoom grants, we have a really comprehensive application that requires a lot of information, and that's really best for nonprofits that really have a solid infrastructure.
Yeah.
For some that may be just getting started or just have, not have such a robust structure yet, we'd like to do something much more simplified, probably not even through the Zoom grants portal. So we don't have it completely nailed down yet. We're really looking for your guidance, but I would say it would be something where we would get out, make sure everybody knows about it, have a meeting with folks, make sure we're very much explaining how they can apply. We'll be right there by their side to help them apply. This is not going to be a putative or, super competitive process. We really just want to get the money out. So I'll come back to you with more detail on that.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this and opening the doors to include other organizations that are working really hard for Chandler, and we want to make sure that they're part of the process. And I'm sure that we will be able to help in the process. Console, anytime I have an opportunity to tell someone, I'll be sending them your way.
Please do.
Because they are out there, they are asking, because I'm continually in the community. Every time I'm engaged with someone, they want to know how can the city help or social services can help. And I always tell them that call Leah. So now I'll tell them to call
Good
you.
idea.
Really, really appreciate
No,
it.
tell them to call you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Really
you. Thank you
appreciate
for
that.
making it
Yeah, thank
possible.
you.
Ryan, what's the timeline for the second part of this again? I know you said we're still kind of working out the kinks or,
Yeah, very quickly.
okay, so July, August?
I'd like to say yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. All right.
Today you're approving the general fund, so next step will be this.
Yeah. And I want to say thank you, Council, for just your sensitivity to our nonprofits and the vast array of people in our community that they support. I think not only to take the ARPA dollars, but others and continually be able to reach out beyond areas and needs that we are or could be aware of is really touching. So thank you for your sensitivity to serve our community. Any additional questions related to this item? All right, thank you, Ryan. Council, that was the only item called in today. We have a public hearing on Thursday, a special meeting at the end for our budget. And with that, that concludes our meeting tonight.